What's up, Lights at Full peeps? I'm one of your co-hosts, Brent Schmidt, alongside, of course, none only other than Brian Smith out of Boston, Massachusetts. Today is a special episode because we have another guest spotlight, and we are gonna put some sparks up in the air, if you know what I'm saying. Hint, hint.
Hint.
Hint. We're gonna make some sparks fly. They might not be hot. They may be cold. If you can't figure out what the frick we're talking about is cold sparks. And none other are experts here. We're going to bring in Cory, Barron. And here's Cory. What's up, dude? How you doing?
What's up, guys? Hey, man. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yes. Like, Cory is Mr. Sparks. Like, if you don't know who Cory is, like, you should. If you're using Sparks and you don't know who Cory is, like, stop using them and know who Cory is. And that's what this episode's going to be.
I appreciate that. I keep a low profile a lot. I'm usually the guy that's like, hey, like in the comments, like in your DMs, like, dude, that was super illegal. Don't do that again. And here's what to do next time. So cool, guys. Yeah, I'm excited to help kind of spread the message here. Just like, hey, there's a way to do this. Let's do it safely and just go from there. So as safely as possible.
As safely as possible in everything that we do. So Cory, tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, like how long you've been using Cold Sparks. Like what's your story with from DJing to Cold Spark expert?
Sure, no doubt. So yeah, I've been DJing for a long time. I was based in Tampa, Florida. I was with an agency for a while. Left them, started our own company in 2017, and became a multi-op shortly after that. And then we've been in the Cold Spark game since basically 2019. I will say I have done the progression. I knew a guy in our market who was the first guy to kind of do it the right way when the technology was very, very much in its infancy stage. And we were like, man, that's really expensive. And I don't really see why that's important. So we bought Pro X Blitz machines. And within a year, they had jammed on almost every event. And so then we're like, all right, let's buy the 700-watt Vever machines, and they would light stuff on fire when they weren't supposed to inside of venues. Let me tell you, it has happened multiple times. And then so around when COVID hit is when we'd first kind of had our first run-in with the manufacturer Sparktacular, who was at the time operating out of South Florida and Vegas. And I got to meet Max and Steve and some of the guys over there, and they are not sponsoring this. This is just my personal experience with them. And they were the first ones to really sit me down and go, there are safety protocols, and here's the NFPA, and here's a guy in your market that does it correctly. You need to team up and learn. And shout out to Michael Greenberg, Spark Wedding Events. He was one of the first guys that was really like, okay, here's what this technology is. Here's what it can do. It really should not be called Cold Sparks. It should be called rapidly cooling sparks, or it'll light your venue on fire. There was a lot of that kind of stuff. And so about 2020 is when I was like, all right, if I'm going to go into this, I'm going headstrong. We bought, I think we bought 8 or 10 machines our first order out, which was $2,000 a machine. The Pyro Sim controller that came out with it, which was like a computerized, like a tablet board built in with a bunch of DMX protocols. Tons of tech in it that we weren't even using, but it just allowed us to be so much safer and have so much more control over these machines than a DMX board, up, down, heater on, off, right? Learning about the importance of clearing the machines, all of these types of things we got to learn. And then firsthand testing at our warehouse, and even testing it sometimes at some of the venues that were concrete floors, high ceilings, that would let us come in and play with the air conditioning systems and stuff. We just sat and learned and wrote. And then I want to say about 2 years ago, I've got a chat GPT up here somewhere where I've just sort of dumping all of this information in, trying to train it. Like I'm like, basically to write essentially a manual for like the users. We'll have something like that comes out that'll be readily available, free for everybody, just as a please try, if you're going to do this, do it safely type of a thing that we'll have later this year. I'll probably get with you guys and help get that out. But it's been really, really cool. It's been neat to see the technology grow. There's so much more dangerous product out there now that I feel like Cold Spark has kind of gotten lost with like the flame machines. And there's machines that have propane in them that launch sparks into the air and ignite them very quickly. They look amazing, but it's been a thing. It's been really, really cool to be a part of. It's a cool journey. There's a lot, like I said, but because of the pricing and the knockoff market, it became so readily available by 2022 that I feel like every DJ in the game had a pair of something. Yeah, it's so yeah, man. That's been kind of our journey ever since. Man, we use them every weekend, sometimes 2 to 3 times a weekend. We have techs that we assign out there deliberately, and actually we just finished doing our extinguishers yesterday. We had to take them all and get recertified and relabeled and retagged. So something else to be part of that journey. So when we start talking about safety, man, there's I'm not going to bore your audience to death, but there's definitely things that you got to do, and that's one of them. So.
Well, I can say just in the first couple of minutes of this, there have been like a lot of takeaways that I know a lot of people aren't doing. Fire extinguishers being one of them.
Yeah. Yep, you got to have two versions of the extinguishers, man. There's a red ABC, that's not for the machine. It's everything that it lights on fire around it, right? And then you got the yellow, the Class D, which is the expensive guy. That's the one that you want to use to put out your metal. Yeah, man, it's just all kinds of stuff. I love this. I live and breathe it. So fire away. Any questions you guys have, man? Or, I'm here for it.
So Cory, you mentioned Sparkular is pretty much like the top brand. It's like the Ferrari of Sparkulars or Sparks that everyone knows.
Kind of. I actually equate it more to Ford, almost like the Model T or like Model A type of a situation. So they were on the ground floor of this technology when it first launched. And so just so everybody's aware, it all came from China. There is not to date a US made machine. There's a US sold machine. There's a lot of them, but they are all white gloved, rebranded Chinese machines. So this particular machine started in China, and there was a company called Chauvin, which anyone who's in the Spark world or in the effects world knows them. They've made a huge leaps and bounds in the last couple of years with the part they're putting out there. So Chauvin was the OG, right? And so there was, after a year or two, Sparktacular became basically the distribution rights for North America. So if you were going to buy Cold Sparks and you were buying from anybody, you were buying a Chauvin machine, but it was going to be Sparktacular is the name of that machine on the US side of things. So you're still getting your granules from them. You're still getting support from them. It's all going back to Chauvin. But there was a bad breakup, right? So when that happened, then another company emerged, and it was called Sparks Fabrica, same Chinese company. They were the ones who put a really good amount of tech and R&D into the machines, the tip over sensors, overcurrent protection, beefed up the size of the fuse that was in the machines, putting better heating elements in there, just doing the things that would get some longevity out of it, because Chauvin at that point was basically using the same stuff it'd been using for years prior, and it was crap. And the things would burn out, and they knew it would burn out. And rather than, just like Chinese uplights, you have a diode that goes bad, cool. You can just buy a new light from us. And, that's kind of what they were doing with the Cold Spark world. It's disposable. Yeah. Exactly. Except it wasn't a disposable price point. These were $2,000-$3,000 machines. So in the long run, it's, they've really been on the ground floor since the first unit. Right. And so they're considered that now, if I get the Ferrari look on it, because the price tag is high on them because of all the crap that's out there now. And it's just they've kind of gotten that known for, which I actually don't think is a bad comparison to Ferrari now, because it's like, you know what you're going to get, right? You're paying a premium price tag, but when you're working with the guys at Sparktacular, it's customer service, it's machines that's going to work. If you have an issue with a machine, or you're short machines, or you're short powder or time cards or whatever you need, those guys are responsive. They will get that stuff in your hands. They will make sure your show works. I've done stuff for them too, where they have shows up in Beerway up near Boston, right? Guy needed Sparktaculars for the weekend. We use Southwest Cargo to move stuff around the country quickly. I mean, within 2 hours, you've got 8 units and a controller and material out to Southwest Cargo on its way there by the nighttime. So they're good at making sure the logistics of these shows are happening, as long as you're using their product, and they know that you've gone through the proper training with them as well, which they have their own training, which is great. It's the only one in the country that I'm aware of right now. So yeah, but that's why I love Sparktacular. It's just that from the get-go, they've been concerned about quality and safety and a good quality machine. I will, little plug for them, at some point later this year, they will be launching the first fully manufactured US machine that will come with ratings and stuff that are not available in other markets. And if those ratings take place by the new NFPA code, which I think will be 2029, that will probably be the flagship, if not the only one for use in the country at that point, because they'll be the only ones with that level of safety in the machines. Shout out to them, constantly innovating and just making sure it's a good quality, good, safe product.
Yeah. I think we just had our first, hold on. I think we just had our first product break on the podcast. So we gotta mark this, product announcement. We're live right here.
Yep. There you go. Boom. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Have it scroll across the bottom. Yep.
I marked the clip. We were good.
That's it. I'll talk to Max too, and we'll see if we can't get a promo code for your show, right? And then boom, throw it out there. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah,
There you
there we go.
Let's get some money back on the show, guys. There you go.
Right.
Nice.
100%. Two questions I had from Cory, you just ripping
Yeah.
on everything
Shoot.
in a good way, is
Yep.
you mentioned NFPA.
Yep.
For people that don't know, and even like myself, you just said it like it was just like nonchalant, terms out there. What does NFPA stand for? What does it mean? Like what all goes into NFPA?
For sure. So the NFPA is the National Fire Protection Association. They essentially write the guidelines for most of the fire departments, if not all the fire departments or their jurisdictions in the country. If 1126 is always the rule that we go with, right? That's the before an approximate audience using pyrotechnics. I will argue all day up and down till I'm blue in the face that it should not be in that category. It belongs in a different one. So far, I can't find a fire department who wants to back that argument with a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of money and take it up the food chain. So it sits there, which is why in most cases you have to pull a permit. In our case in Florida and in Tampa specifically, we pull an open flame permit, even though there's no flame, but it's cheap, which is fine. And then we have to get 4 hours minimum of fire watch. So they'll come in an hour before, they do our testing, they check the room, make sure everything's good. For those of you who are doing this properly and haven't encountered this yet, those inspectors are also looking around the room for everything else. So if the drape company has covered an exit sign, if there's sternos, or if the florist has got open flame and the venue's not supposed to have that, you just opened a can of worms. So be prepared. If you're doing this, it's a great idea to talk to the wedding planner and a good idea to talk to the venue, even if it's a 5-minute heads up call. We always ask for permission with the venues before we go through with any permitting processes and stuff like that, just to save ourselves some time and give them the, we're in a symbiotic relationship type of thing. So we'll always recommend doing that. But yeah, that is something to be aware of. But yeah, the NFPA is the governing body that basically comes up with the rules and regulations for all the pyro stuff.
Gotcha. And then my next question is trying to just get a clarification of all the different brands, and like I mentioned, Spectacular being the Ferrari type thing.
Sure.
Can you kind of give us a list of companies that are out there that produce and make cold sparks, and then also kind of like their ranking of like, this is your Ferrari, and then this is your Honda Accord.
I'm gonna catch some shit for this, so I'm gonna piss off some people here. Shout out to
we've already started doing that. We've already started doing it, so it's okay.
Cool, gotcha. All right, sorry, Rick. Here we go. So basically, you're going to have three main companies, right? So Chauvin, Sparktacular, and Sparks Fabrica. As of, what is this, the 6th of April, right?
Yep.
Those are three companies basically operate simultaneously within all of the any AHJ in the country. They have a machine that has overcurrent. They have the tip over sensors. They require a time card, so they're using authentic material. There are loopholes around that we can get into another day, but there's all the safety requirements are built in there, and they have the DMX protocols built in where you run back to what's called a PyroSim controller. And the big thing about that is it has an on-off switch. It has a touch screen control to turn on and off the machines. It shows you the temperature of the machines, whether it's outputting or not at that moment, the error codes, which is incredible. The biggest one is there's a key, we call it a dead man switch. And at any point in time, I turn that switch, every machine that could be active at that point, it kills signal to everything and drops it. So if there's a fire, if there's another type of an emergency, that's the key thing that they're looking for. So those three machines are all going to vary in pricing. It's going to be cheaper out the gate to buy from China. By the time you put in shipping costs and wait shipping times and stuff like that, it might eventually turn down. You might as well just buy Sparktacular. It's based in the US. It ships from Vegas. It can be anywhere in 3 days. From there, there's going to be some controversy, right? So guys like ProX, the Blitz machines that have been out forever, those are a knockoff of a company called Color Key. They have a knockoff of another machine that's all based out of China. You can take a picture if you want, if anybody, your user or listeners want to do this, take a picture of the back of any machine that you see online, right? Throw it in ChatGPT, Claude, Google, and reverse image search that, and it will take you back to a Chinese manufacturer that you've never heard of, and that's where they're getting their machine from. All of them, both lighting. I mean, down the line, all the Apple lens and Kitten lens and all of the uplight manufacturers are selling those. All of these machines are coming out of Guangzhou, China. Like that's it. There's one Providence that does 99% of the manufacturing there, and pick a warehouse, they've all got a machine. I will say, if I had to use a crap machine right now, my favorite is the Vever. Of all the machines, it is dirt cheap. It has a great heater. They were the first ones to innovate. They put a hole on the side, a little doorway where you can pop off a little rubber housing will cover. And you can put a screwdriver or an Allen key in and wrench your machines if the gears the gears get stuck all the time on these machines. It's the number one thing that they do. They freeze up. And they knew it, and that was number one complaint. So they put a doorway on the side of it so you could put an Allen key in and wrench the machine up and get it up and running real quick for in the field repair work. I wish the other machines would do that. I will say, knock on wood, I have not had that issue with Spartacular. My machines with them have never frozen up. My Blitz machines froze up all the time. I would have DJs bringing machines into our warehouse for us to try and fix them because they would seize up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I hate to say there's a good, better, best. There's not really. There's all the machines that are crap. They're all just knockoffs of other Chinese machines. I would put Bever a step up just because of that little doorway, that little access point, just for field work. But then I have all of them. I have my original Chauvins. I have the original and the Mark IIs from Spartacular, and I have the battery versions of those that came out from Sparks Fabrica. And I've had more issues with the stuff that I bought from Sparks Fabrica directly. I have had significantly less with Spartacular, and my Chauvin stuff works to this day. I've not had issues with it. But the Chauvin stuff is 6 years old at this point. You can't buy it anymore.
Right.
The one thing to remember is that there are certain parts of these machines, specifically the heating elements. When the heating elements go bad, you chuck the machine. You're not replacing them. So unfortunately, with some of this stuff, it's, and there are guys out there who say, yes, you can. You can pull the whole thing apart and replace it. If you want to get in there and get that far into it, I'm like, good luck. By the time you get that working, then another gear is going to break down, or your board's going to melt or whatever. So there is a shelf life for these machines, but the higher quality machines, the longer they're going to last.
For sure.
All right. So,
yep.
Cold Spark is kind of a misleading name, right? So
Very.
they heat to well over 1,000 degrees, right? So kind of walk us through like what the material is and what is physically chemically happening when you use these machines.
Sure. So it's a titanium alloy, right? That's actually in these machines. And so we've done some testing where the mixtures are, there's only a couple products that are supposed to be in this mixture. And we had some like the stuff that you could buy from, God, I think it was off of eBay for a while. And you can say about, it's the regular silver package, right? There's nothing on there, just says 20 grams titanium alloy powder. We sent some of that out for testing, and we were getting back, there's sulfur, there's lead, there was all kinds of crap that wasn't supposed to be. There's definitely filler materials that was like undisclosed, whatever, trace amounts of this, trace amounts of that. Buying the stuff that we get from Sparks Fabrica and Chauvin and Spartacular, when we tested those materials, they were all like right on like a 80-20 mixture of what was supposed to be in there. They were all we weren't seeing a lot of extra crap in there. Maybe small little amounts of this and that. Usually it was like aluminum, or it's being made in this fireworks factory. There may have been residue from something that fell into it, but nothing that was like dangerous. And so as long as you were buying from a good manufacturer, a reliable source, the material seemed like it was totally fine on that. So, but yeah, what happens is you're dumping the material in. You have basically a fill chamber. It goes down into a heater. The heater's connected to power, and then it heats up inside this chamber to about 1,100 degrees, give or take. You can set various temperatures on the back of the machines. I think we run ours between like 475 degrees Celsius to like 525. I really don't have a need to go more than that. Anything more than that, you're just going to burn your heater out. Or run it for long periods of time. And then obviously the hotter the heater gets, the more energy you're drawing. And at peak output, these things are like 6.5 amps. So I'm not trying to clog up circuit space if I don't have it. But yeah, so these guys heat up super, super, super hot. And then the fan kicks on and it basically just blows these guys right out the top. And so what's happening is as soon as you're introducing air into this reaction, essentially, it starts to rapidly cool these granules. So what you're seeing is this, it's basically a chemical reaction causing these things to glow, right? As they're glowing and they're separating, supposed to cool. I mean, split second is going from 1,000 degrees to 100 degrees, 125. I will use a laser thermometer from time to time and check them. I'm seeing stuff coming out the chute of the machine at 200-300 degrees sometimes. So the people that do the hand thing over top of it, it's like holding like a big lighter, right? You can pop your lighter and do this all day long, right? At some point, it's going to get uncomfortable the slower your hand gets. Same thing with the cold sparks. I mean, there are guys I've seen, they will hold it there for minutes at a time. Like, look, it's no problem. I'm like, well, congratulations. You probably won't be able to feel your hand for a while.
Yeah.
You're sandblasting your palm. So, but yeah, it's the problem becomes when you don't clean the machines out, or you're using a really, really bad material grade and you get clumping. And so when those granules are much larger than they're supposed to be, they're retaining that heat, or there's more material inside that's rapidly heating but hasn't gotten to that part where it's expanded yet. And that can fall up and down the machine, hit the floor, and pop on the floor. And now you have a reaction that's 1100 degrees on the floor down here that's not protected. So but from a reactionary standpoint, that's what you're watching. You're essentially watching a chemical reaction take place, and that you're just introducing air and trying to get it to cool very, very rapidly. I remember Michael Greenberg was the guy who said they should be called rapidly cooling sparks, not cold sparks. But yeah. So that's what it is.
Now, obviously, safety is like a huge concern with these. And people, I feel like it's a misnomer in the DJ world, like, oh, these things are perfectly safe. And like,
oh God, I hate that. I see it on so many websites. No, not even close. It's safe to the right user in the right environment.
And you know what? One of the things that you mentioned earlier, which I want to point out, because you know, I used to program and do sound switch designs for people all the time. You know, they turnkey, like, give me all your lights, I'm going to design your sound switch show for you. And I cannot tell you how many times people ask me to program cold sparks, and I flat out refuse because it's not safe. I don't think it's safe to do it, and I did not want to be associated with it. So Cory already mentioned it, is the actual controller for these units with the safety. Like, these are professional pyrotechnics controller. And I think it's just such an important thing to point out that, like, that is the way you're supposed to be doing this. Like, you know, so kind of going in on all this, like, safety using the controller, like, what is your pre-show safety checklist look like?
Sure. So always starts with evaluation number one, right? Like, what is the environment that you're walking into? For us, it's a lot of times, is it carpet? Is it dance floor? What's going to be introduced? It's not there during a walkthrough, right? I mean, one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that these things are totally safe, if they're indoor safe, all that BS. It's not, because you have florists, shout out to them, who want to preserve their flowers and keep everything super nice. One of the number one tools in their book, or in their toolboxes, is to use hairspray, like White Rain, heavy alcohol. That stuff lights up immediately. The second you drop a cold spark granule that's still lit, it's still glowing, that is now on. Everything that has a hairspray on it is on fire. The boho grasses, stuff like that, again, those things light up super, super fast. So it's knowing the environment you're walking into, knowing what type of fire system is there, what type of fire suppression is there. You know, if you set it off an alarm, is it going to set off the sprinklers? Typically, the answer to that is no, depending on the age of the building. Right? Usually, you're going to get the blinky alarms and the super annoying siren first. That can be bypassed. Your sprinklers are going to be set off with heat. Two different things to look out for, two different systems entirely. The biggest one now with new hotels is it's lasers inside the AC system. The air intake typically has a laser, and it can be set off by a vape. If it can be set off via vape, trust me, these things do put off a small little bit of, call it haze if you want to, right? But there is a vapor discharge from these. That is enough to set off the laser grids in the AC systems. I can tell you that firsthand, because when we do our testing, that's the first thing we do. So yeah, getting the environment down first and foremost, knowing what you're working with, understanding the fire system that's in place, knowing well before that if you need to pull permits and do the fire watch. We're talking to the venue. I sometimes will just have engineering just like go, hey man, can you guys hang out for 15 minutes during the first dance and the introductions and just make sure nothing goes off, or have the system on bypass, whatever the case is, then turn it back on when we're done. You know, having the foresight to have some of those things lined up in advance, just from a logistical perspective, is huge. For us, the safety stuff that we designed back in 2020, I bought welding mats, like 36 by 36, super thick. I think they were rated for up to 1800 degrees. And we put those under every machine, every time, no exception, period, because the bottom of the machine has a heater that's 1100 degrees and it's made of metal. Also, a wire can get crossed. If that somehow gets, we have an issue down underneath there and something gets hot or it sparks, whatever the case is underneath, I've got something between there and the floor, which is the number one thing is damage to venue flooring is the easiest thing to do with these. So that prevented that. The second thing we did is we ended up buying, I guess they're like planter boxes, but they're plastic. And we bought big 24 by 24 planter boxes. We got them in black and white. And the first thing we do is we take them and we spray them down with 3M makes a stuff called No Burn. And we just soak it everywhere. And then we spray it around there, around the machines, on the floor, on flowers if they're nearby, anything like that, just in case something happens there. We're just trying to basically create that perimeter of where if a spark manages to stay thick, if it missed a cleaning cycle or whatever, and it ejects out, that it's not going to burn a hole in the floor. It's not going to light a dance floor polyurethane on fire. It's not going to light, florals on fire, anything like that. And then the second part to that is what's above you. We don't ever shoot directly at a sprinkler. We don't ever shoot directly at a fire sensor. And then drapery. The ceiling drape stuff is coming back from the 90s again. I don't know why. But a lot of a lot of that stuff needs to have a tag on there that's called IFR. It stands for inherently fire rated. If it does not have an IFR tag on there, it is probably just crap material, tooling, whatever. And it is so easy to light that stuff on fire as well. So just knowing your surroundings and having some proper protocols. And then we talked about the fire extinguishers earlier. We have a red and a yellow extinguisher, in date, certified, usually within 50 feet of wherever we're shooting at all times. And the tech shoots always has their board and the fire extinguisher next to them wherever they are in the room.
Cory, where are you purchasing your? Because I'm sure if there's any,
Yeah.
as they probably should,
Yeah.
listeners should get some fire extinguishers to put on their pack list to bring. Where can they
Sure.
purchase the red fire extinguisher and the Class D fire extinguisher?
So the reds you can basically buy anywhere. You can get them on Amazon. You can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. They'll have smaller ones there. What we did is we work with a local company called All Fire or All Florida Fire, and there's going to be one in every state and every city, and they're going to be the people that, if you just look up like recertifying fire extinguishers in your market, those people can sell you the extinguishers. It doesn't have to be brand new. If you want a larger version of it, they can sell you recertified extinguishers, which is one of our yellows. Is what we did. It was $450 compared to 1,000 new, and it's $100 every year to get it recertified and refilled. I've actually had to use that extinguisher twice this past year. Shit happens.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Exactly.
really good. But nothing happened in the venue because we were able to act quickly because we had the right materials on hand to put it out.
Right. And you went through all of those protocols. I could only imagine if you didn't have the welder's mat and you didn't
Yeah.
spray, the perimeter around that space and did your checks or whatnot, like how much more
Yeah.
of a incident and impact that you could have created damage at the venue could have
Sure.
been if you didn't do
Well, and actually, I missed an important one too, which is electricity, right? Knowing how much power is coming out of your outlet. Yeah, there's a little device they sell on Amazon called a kilowatt that you can plug into the wall, shows you how much amperage is coming out. And then, sorry, there's a bug flying in front of me. So they say how much amperage is coming out of the wall versus how much you're using. That is super, super helpful. And then having a proper gauge extension cord and a proper gauge IEC or True One cable. I mean, not using crap cables is half the battle. I've seen more fires in our market because of bad extension cords, not bad machines or bad operators. So that to me is just as important as anything else we're using.
Yeah.
Your extension cords shouldn't be warm.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, or hot, or smoldering, or melting. Gotcha. Yep. So
Yeah. 12 gauge or less. 12, 10.
Yeah.
Like spend the extra
Yeah.
money. Trust me.
Worth it every time, every cent, every penny. Well,
Yep.
we cleaned out warehouse last week, and there was anything that we found that was bigger than less. If it was 14 gauge or higher, it got tossed.
I'm sure if you can hit up our unofficial non-sponsor NFLX Pro, hit up Ben and be like, hey, I need a 12 or a 10 gauge True One Powercon IEC cable because I need to make sure that they'll have it for you.
Yep. Shout out to Ben.
So walk us through a little bit, like you said, Sparktacular has a training program, some certifications. Walk us through a little bit of like, if you want to go legit, because again, DJs, so we're not trying to scare you off from using these, but like, we also don't want to get the reputation of the people that are lighting venues on fire. Like we want to get people doing the right thing, doing it the right way. So if you're trying to go legit, whether you have Sparktacular or not, what's the process for licensing, NFPA? And obviously I know it's going to be different depending on what state and city you live in, but give us kind of like an overview of what that looks like.
Sure. Shout out to Max again, Sparktacular. When before we could buy our equipment, they had a training program. And so it was all online, series of videos with quizzes afterwards. And it runs you through the basics, and it runs you through a little bit of 101 and 102, right? How to use the machines, what you were looking out for. And there's some stuff that we talked about that's not in there yet, because at the time we didn't know floors for using hairspray and things of that nature, right? So, but it's a good baseline as an operator to go, okay, here's the common sense, and then here's, as an actual technical operator, what I need to know. And once you've passed that course, they send you a certificate. And then Max has done an incredible job working across the country, every major market, every major city. He either knows the fire marshal, knows the chief inspectors, knows the fire chiefs, whoever's in charge of making those decisions. And he can actually give you a little nice warm handoff. I can say, hey, if you're in Chicago, here's the inspector's office that you need to be to know, and here's their process. Or if their process has changed, here's who you need to talk to learn that process. That's the best thing you can do is after you get legit equipment and you have that certification, that little piece of paper that is numbered. What Max does is he puts that in a database, and that database is readily available to every AHJ across the country. And so if tomorrow Tampa Fire says, you know what, I haven't worked with Cory in a while, I wonder if his stuff is still active or if he's still operating here or operating legally, he can go right up there to Spartacular, go to their database, and he'll go down and see my name, when I was certified, what machines I had, and what my certification number is. And that's actually required for us to pull our permits here. Is I have to go, yes, I have an NFPA, a compliance certificate, and this is the number for it. And then here's Max's contact information should you have any questions. Because their equipment is the requirement for this area. You have to have either a Chauvin or a Spartacular machine. That's it. So Chauvin didn't do a training program to the best of my knowledge, at least at this time. Like I said, I was an original user for them. I really haven't had anything since. But to my knowledge, Max is the only guy that had that. And so the only way around that is you have a Series 54 pyro license, which means you can actually go out and shoot the big stuff. So if you've got that, then they don't worry about the NFPA compliance stuff so much.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, it sounds like Spartacular is like the podcast sponsor for this episode right now, but they're not. Like legit.
They're not. I just sing their praises, man. They're doing it right.
Right. And that's the thing is a company like that is going through all the steps to provide you all the training information, all the material, and does the additional legwork to get you safe, certified, and moving in the right direction to be safe, be compliant, and just overall give the best results to your clients. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, but make sure everyone's safe in that venue. We've seen how many videos that gone viral about sparks going off and this whole freaking truss structure of florals is up in fire, and now that whole wedding is destroyed. So
now there have been some confusion on that because the gerb was like what this machine was created to basically replicate, right? So the gerb is an actual pyrotechnic, and usually they're size of a cup, right? Something like that, not that much taller, but it is an actual pyrotechnic. And a lot of like the stuff that was in Mexico and Thailand, some of those were gerbs that people were like, oh, look at the cold sparks. Like, no, those are hot sparks. Those are legit. That's why no one's touching them. And the building's now on fire. But there have been some tragedies though, like over in the Middle East, it was either last or the year before, 150 people were killed at a wedding. It caught a roof on fire, roof collapsed. I mean, there was an issue in Canada at a restaurant. The same thing happened. Doors were locked. It was kind of like a white snake, not as bad, but type of situation. So yeah, I mean, there are issues. We had a guy in our market, bad extension cord to his cold sparks, burned down a flower arch for the ceremony before the bride and groom walked down. I've had issues. We had an end wall fire at a venue because we were pulling too much amperage and didn't know it because on the wall it said that we were getting 122, but like when we actually put a two-prong detector in there, we're getting like 130 out of the wall. It was like the wires inside the wall were literally on fire. Didn't know it. So I mean, there's so many things that you have to know and look out for if you're going to do this stuff properly. And we hear it every week that people just don't. They don't. The DJs come in, they don't care. They throw their sparks up, they shoot on the carpet, and then they leave. And there's a perfect square, clean, right in the middle. And then there's a bunch of burnt and melted carpet all around there, or the granules are everywhere. They don't sweep up after themselves. I think if you're going to do this, also be prepared to take it a step further and clean up after yourselves. I mean, you can get a Dyson vacuum now or a knockoff or whatever they are for a couple $100. I'm like, dude, throw one in your truck, keep it charged. If they see you vacuuming
that's just a
up
good
after
rule
yourself,
in general.
oh my God, man. I'm like, I can't tell you how many venues are like, wait, you did what? Like you bring a basketball mop to wipe the floor down afterwards and like you'll vacuum up your cold sparks. It's like, yeah, no kidding. So dump the cold sparks though. Do not keep them in any type of vessel because the oxygen will get to them. They will decompose and they can degrade, and you don't want to have that stuff around. Once your packet's open, use it, and then you clean up, dump it. So
now I'm I'm going to take a wild guess here, but your RV Nuncio, your PEEP insurance is probably not covering your cold sparks.
So
What?
it is
Are you
not
sure?
special.
I don't know.
Special
I don't
policies
know.
required. Special qual. Yeah. So now here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you this is a backstory, right? I used to get around that until last year, and what we would do is on our RV Nuccio, I think we had a $2 million, $3 million, whatever it was, but we would put DJ lighting and F capital X capital, and that covered us. We've had some issues again especially when I was using the Blitz machines and learning the technologies, and things were happening before I had met Max. Like, yeah, there was a company here who brought these machines in and was not allowed to use them inside the building, so they said, okay, take them outside. And mind you, this is 2 stories of glass wall, and they etched cold spark material into the glass for 2 stories, $40,000 and glasswork repair that had to be done before the next wedding. So, and I'll tell you right now, they did not have the proper insurance policy, but they had RV Nuccio and they had done the FX thing. And because RV Nuccio didn't cross that part out, they had to cover it. And then they killed it immediately. So, like, you'll see a whole bunch of restraints now on certain verbiages that you can and cannot have on there. And that's one of them now. So that's a big one. So I forget the name of the company we go through right now, but again, a simple Google or a AI search for insurance companies that pyrotechnics companies use. They'll write specific policy, especially if you're willing to say, hey, I'm using this setup, these machines, this time. It's a 1-day policy for here, significantly cheaper than doing a full year policy unless you're going to be doing this stuff over and over and over again. But yeah, there are ways around it now. But you're paying pro prices for insurance, so that is the downside. But like I said, we do this every week, so for us, it just made sense to pull a year-long policy and let it rock. But yeah, RV Nuccio will not cover you if you light shit on fire with your cold sparks. So yeah.
So, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
I was just going to ask.
You guys are such gentlemen. I love it.
I know.
Well, we're also looking at the same notes, so we're probably like going to ask probably the same question, but anywho. So, Cory, how do you behind the scenes? And we're cutting this shit out.
Maybe.
Maybe not. How do you position your cold sparks in your packages? Like, are you including them in packages, or are you doing it as a separate a la carte item, or is it like people are contacting you because you are the Sparks king, like
Spark guy? Yeah,
I hate to say it, the Spark guy.
No, you're good. I love it. I need to put myself out there more with this stuff because I need to get the education now. But yeah, so from a packages standpoint, originally back in the day, yes, it made the most sense for us because we didn't know what we were doing, right? Like that very first year, I was like, let's put them in everything and just get it out there for the marketing and let all these venues see it. And then you walk into a spot and it's like, crap, ceilings are too low. Oh, there's the fire extinguisher or the fire suppression systems, certain color for the temperature that it goes off at's too low. And so if a spark gets into that thing and there's dust from 20 years and it lights up, right? Can't use it. Fabric, can't use it. Too close to the bride and groom's table, cake table, whatever. Like those granules go everywhere. So it became a situation of like, I am throwing these in the package. And then every time I'm having to come up with, okay, crap, do I need to bring a CO2 can in to replace this? Is the couple going to be okay with that? So my advice is don't put them in your packaging. Too many things can go wrong. We do a la carte almost, I would say probably 80% of the time if we've already booked a client for DJ services, then that we offer the a la carte option once we know where we're at and we've had a chance to talk to them about what the overall scope of the work is going to be that night, what kind of florals, drapery, that kind of stuff. Outside of that, we are. It's kind of cool. We are known for doing sparks and doing it right in this area. And our number one competitor left the market a year ago. So we kind of own the market. So we get calls all the time for that. Or we'll get people on Marketplace or on Facebook that, I'm sure you guys probably have them too. There's like the brides, brides Boston, whatever. We have a couple of those in Tampa, and somebody will ask for that, and there'll be 50 DJs that come up here and go, oh, I can do that, and I just pop in the bottom. I'm like, hey, you're in Tampa's jurisdiction. You need a permit and fire watch, and anyone telling you to do that doesn't know what they're talking about. Please don't put your wedding in jeopardy. Like, contact us if you need more information. So we do that a lot, and that leads to a lot of goodwill because the planners will know that if the brides are starting to pick it up too. So enforcement is big, though. It hasn't really been enforced all that much until recently. That's going to change. The next NFPA rulings, I think they're putting some broad punishments in there. And a lot of what they're doing is, well, they're not going to punish the DJ. It's too hard to track down 500 DJs with their knockoff cold sparks in the market. What they're going to do is go after the venue. And so the venue does it once, they get a slap on the hands. they get a small fine. They have to pay to have their entire ballroom recertified, all their extinguishers checked, little surprise visit from the fire marshal's office. And if it happens again, then they take their certificate of occupancy, and it now costs them millions of dollars because they can't host an event there for another year. So what you're seeing is a lot of venues going, we don't want to deal with that anymore. So no cold sparks, period. Same thing happening with CO2 and haze and all that kind of stuff, because now lasers are getting big again. So everybody wants to do lasers, and we're running the same issues. So positioning yourselves as an expert and having all of that paperwork done in advance where you can just walk in and be like, here's our packet. I know it's a lot of stuff. Here's the Cliff Notes version. Call me if you have any issues, or we'll set a meeting up and do a walkthrough, whatever the case is. That has helped tremendously. And just positions you as the expert because you care enough to go in and let them know, hey, these are the questions you're going to ask. We already know your fire department. We know your fire marshal. We know your inspectors. They've already cleared us. Here's their, getting a letter of recommendation from the fire department or from an inspector is night and day difference. Like, you have that in your packet, you're done. So creating a packet with some of that stuff is really good too. And then I don't know if I can screen share on here or not, but I have we take the floor plans for all of our events, and we mark out specifically where the cold sparks are going, where the tech is, where the extinguishers are, and where we're drawing power from every single time on those. And we send those out to the venue so they can have an engineering plan. We call it a site plan. And then marking exits on there too, that are are not going to be covered. That fire marshals and inspectors are going to need that every single time. If you're in a situation where you don't have it, it's really nice to be able to give that to the venue though and say, hey, we did a little extra legwork. We've done the research on here. Here's our plan for the night. Does this work for you guys?
Yeah.
So that, from a safety standpoint, all the little things, man, it all adds up. It's a lot of work on the front end, but I tell you what, when you've got the right gear, you can basically charge whatever the hell you want for it, though. I mean, it's sometimes we're getting as much as like $500 a box, in some cases. Yeah, and when you're doing it right, and you're and people trust you to get it done correctly, you position yourselves to be able to charge that.
I think that's like the big takeaway here too for like the DJs that are watching this. Like, one thing that Brent and I have harped on before, and this is I would say this is at the same exact level of importance, is the safety. Just like rigging, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to do it the right way. If you're not doing it the right way, don't do it. But if you are doing it the right way, and you let people know you're doing it the right way and show that you're doing it the right way, you become the person, and then you get the business, and then you can charge what you need to charge for this, because people know that they can trust you. And that goes a huge way in things like this.
And then you can scale, and you can train more techs, and you can get these people underneath of you, and you can do 3-4 events in a weekend, or 10 events in a weekend if you want to, or major shows. I mean, we get concerts that come into town that don't have the right stuff. The fire marshal's office calls us and says, hey, these guys just failed inspection. How soon can you be here? With 15, 20 boxes. So all of a sudden it turns into a $20,000 weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
And trying to scale with a photo booth business isn't going to necessarily give you a $20,000 weekend like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Be surprised, man. But yeah, it's like I said, there's a lot to it. It's a lot more than people make it out to be, than just, going on eBay. I don't even think you can buy them on Amazon anymore. I think you have to have like specific keywords if you're looking for them. But eBay, I know, is where all the cheap ones are. That's like the only major market, and Alibaba and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was just on Spectacular FX website because I typed in the wrong one, and I was getting firework sound effects in my ears. But I was like, I want to potentially invest in this and do this, but I noticed that like when I went to go buy, I had to fill out some information to then pretty much set up my training sessions. Like, you can literally not just buy the machines and then put off the training. Like, you're going through the process, which I love.
Yeah, they want to know who you are. They want to know what markets you're in, so that they can do that white glove service for you, right? Like this is where we talked about how I considered them to be Ford back in the day, and now they are Ferrari, right? Like it's this, the service is phenomenal. Like, that is what you're paying for as part of this. You're getting a good quality machine. Like I said, and if anybody, this is the other thing too, like, I have machines right now that I know are coming to the end of their useful life after like the last 3 or 4 years that need to be replaced. I know about the new machines that they want to launch here coming up. And he's already said, like, hey, come in, you can rent some machines from us. You can buy some temporary machines from us, and then we'll buy them back from you when the new machines come out, and you can just put your money towards the new machines. Like, it's not a money grab type situation with them. I think they are genuinely want to be the experts in this field. They have the best quality equipment. They have the best customer service, and they're genuinely looking out for their operators. Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by them. I love the product, and I will sing their praises for as long as I can.
And I will say, DJs are Lazy fucks. Sorry.
Yeah, no
I'm also one
shit,
of them,
man.
but like,
Yep, yep,
them seeing that and like, we want to invest in Sparktacular FX, but I
yep,
can't buy it right now. Like, I can just go buy
yep,
the BlissX or the Color Keep one
yeah, yep.
and get it right now. But like, yeah, stop being
Well,
lazy
that's
fucks,
so.
DJs. Come
That's
on.
This
it.
is one of those spots not to
Jesus.
cut
No,
corners.
no.
Yes.
And this is a
100%.
lot of those. If you look at the Blitz and you look at the color keys and the JMAs, I know that the Firestorm F3, blah 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 blah. That tech in those machines has not changed in 6 years, maybe longer. A lot of
Yeah.
those guys, what they were doing for those machines to be produced in China is they were buying Chauvin's original bullshit from 2016 because there's a mass amount of parts out for those. So it's just a
Mhm.
bunch of. And I've seen plastic box machines. I've seen all kinds of shit come through here. There's just so much garbage out there. I'm like, these are. I hate to say it, they have a shelf life, just like anything else, right? You have a, depending on how often you're using them, how often you're leaving them on. You're gonna, when that heater goes, you're done. So the whole idea is just don't run the machines to that point. That's where you have to be.
Yeah. Okay. So if I was a DJ, first step, I wanted to add Cold Sparks as my offerings to my wedding services.
Yep.
What are my first steps?
Call Spartacular. So no, before you make that jump, the first place I would go to is I would make a list of every single venue that you want to work at in your market, right? Places
Okay.
that you're already in, and then figure out, can you shoot Cold Sparks there, right?
Okay.
If you can't, it doesn't make sense. Don't do it. Save your money, put it in cryo, do it in something else. The second thing is, once you figure out those venues and you've got the permissions to shoot there, then you have to ask them, okay, what is the procedure? Who is the authority that has jurisdiction here? Is it the venue itself? Is there a local fire marshal? Is a fire marshal work, as part of a city or a county situation like Tampa, where we're at, we have a weird map that squiggles everywhere. And so half the time I'm in the county and half the time I'm in the city. So knowing the jurisdiction is going to be part of that. And then I would go and have a conversation with the fire departments, whichever ones you're going to be working with most often that are in that area, and just say, hey, this is something I want to get into. It's not offered here. I want to know what's your take on it. Some of them will say no, absolutely not. Some of them will say, great, go get a pyro license, which is dumb. But at the same time, it creates a massive barrier to entry that you have to now get involved with the ATF to get that. And it's a months long process. And sometimes you have to have people to sign you on to get ATF, to get through the background checks and stuff like that. It just depends on how hard you want to get into this, right?
I know some DJs that wouldn't pass the background test.
One of them might be on this podcast. That's crazy. I got you. Yes. But yeah,
Brian.
I think there it was. Boom. Right. I think just determining what you can do in your market, right? Like that's the big one, right? You just know if that service is a fit for your market and if you can do it legally. And then, just like any other business, man, then do a competitive analysis, right? Is anybody else doing it in their market? If they are, who are they? What are they using? How often are they shooting? Where are they posting pictures at? And then bring that with you to the fire marshal's office, because you can be like, hey, these guys? You see them doing this shit illegally? And they're like, oh, yeah, take out your competition for you. So, there's you have options, right? There's ways to do it. But once you figure out what your market is, right, then at that point, then you have to make the determination, okay, how many machines do you want to get? From my standpoint, every 4 machines gets minimum 1 backup for us. So if we're 8 machines out, there's 2 backup machines always. They get tested like any of the other ones. They're always set up, ready to go, just not powered on. I always keep it like last in the DMX line for us. And so if I need to swap something out, I can just do a quick swap in so that the DMX value matches another machine that's already in the line. But just know that's part of the investment. And sometimes you can tell Max, like, hey, I want to buy 8 machines, but I also want to buy 2 as backup. If it's the Spark 1 Pros or like an older line, they may hook you up with a backup price on there. Like I was tell people, I'll take advantage of that shit. Like he's doing it for a reason. He wants you to be safe and he wants your shows to be successful. They're good guys over there. So, yeah. But yeah, man. Do your market evaluation and then figure out how much money you want to invest. And I'm pretty sure they have financing options like Karma or whatever it is that you can use like on PayPal and stuff like that too. Yeah, man.
So listeners, don't just go out and buy Sparks just to buy it to then hopefully get into it. Like, you got to do some homework. Sorry.
Yep.
I know you've graduated from high school or college, but got to do some homework.
There's some homework here. Yeah. I mean, just if you're buying from Alibaba, if you're buying from AliExpress, eBay, these things, I'm like, eBay, you have a little bit of leeway, right, with PayPal on your purchase for 30 days or whatever. Most of your Cold Sparks are not going to burn out in 30 days. They're going to burn out in 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, whatever. But if you're buying from Ali, I'm like, you're not getting anything there. There's no customer service. there's no recourse if your machine goes bad in 2 days, right? I mean, you're gonna hit them up and say, "Hey, did you send me a bad machine?" They're like, "Okay, great, buy another one." Right? Or send us a video and we'll walk you through how to fix it. Then you can buy this part and ship it over to you for $100, right? So
Yeah.
it's just by the time you rack up all the headache and bullshit and lost events from buying all the cheap ones, you should have just bought the good stuff and been good out the gate. And the resale value is high on them. I could turn around and sell my Cold Sparks from 4 years ago here and still probably get 50-60% of what I paid for them because it's the only available machine on the market and everybody wants them. But yeah, man, so, like it.
Where do you see technology going in the Cold Sparks field?
Oof.
Like, is there anything that you're kind of watching, you're keeping an eye on, or something that is coming to market that, I don't know. Well, look, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, the Spark itself was made to mimic the germ, right? And so I feel like it did that. Where it's going now, a lot of users are asking for color, which you need to induce another chemical into that equation. So like, copper and sulfur and things like that to get blues and greens. That also means you have to get higher temperatures in them. So you're gonna have to have thermal protections. You're gonna have to have higher heat ratings. There's gonna be more safety that has to get involved with these machines. And the other thing too, if you're using more power, then it means it's less machines on a circuit, right? So now you're talking about really having to go pro level or having to buy power drops in venues. So yeah, I don't really see the overall mechanics of the machine changing too much. I just see that there's people I think we're gonna see some color effects worked in there, and then some more variable height and battery technology, I think, is going to be where this goes. I mean, what's out there now, I think the general idea is there. I think it's just going to have to be perfected. But we are seeing more of these concert style effects coming out, like with the flames and with these gas powered shots. I mean, like with the starter fluids and with propane. That are induced, and that to me, that you should have a Series 54 or some type of pyro license to operate that. That is open flame. You have a fuel cell. If your fuel goes bad, you can kill people. It's not just I'm going to burn the carpet, right? So I'm hoping that people that are, if you're going to get into Cold Spark, you get into Cold Spark. You're not getting into Cold Spark as a gateway to use flame machines inside. Like, please don't be that guy.
Yeah.
You'll end up on AV rigging disasters. Or
Station Nightclub was my backyard. Like, and it's like, that stuff
man.
terrifies me, like, it's just like, yep. So, man, this has been a killer episode on Sparks and the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it. And again, not sponsored by Sparktacular, but I mean, if I was coming into this, I don't know why I would go in any other direction. It just seems like it is just the absolute right move. As we said, don't cut corners. This is people's lives at risk. This isn't just your business and your reputation. This is people's lives, just like with rigging. So do it the right way. Cory, this has totally been awesome. Where can people find you and follow you and see what you're up to?
Sure. My Instagram will get better. I swear. I just hired somebody for this. So it's DJ Cory, Cory, Barron, Barron, and then we're TB DJ Co, short for Tampa Bay DJ Company, is where we are on Instagram. So that's probably the easiest way to hit us up. And I get DMs all the time from people asking about how to do this kind of stuff. If you have questions, please do not hesitate. It may take me a day or two to get back to you, just because I feel like I have some boomer energy when it comes to social media. But I will, and I just know that I will point you in the right direction, and I just want to see it done safely. So
I mean, I think 100%. You can send them to this podcast once it's live.
Done. There you go. Yes, that's it. So, yeah, buddy. Cool, guys. Well, thank you again for having me on today, man. This was a privilege to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us.
And I feel like you're going to be back because I think there's some cool stuff coming, and I think we'll probably want to talk about it.
Oh, good. You got it, man. When we want to talk CO2, let me know. And I'm like, that's my next.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. It's coming. It's coming.
I know Brent loves that, man. God, every time I see you out there doing something, there's a cloud of something over top of you. So.
Right. Yep. So, but listeners, hey, if you guys have any questions for Cory, leave them in the comments section. He'll be there. If not, we'll send it to him. But seriously, do it right, do it safe. And that was our episode with Cold Sparks. If you're not following us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, subscribe, follow along. We're posting every Tuesday. Great content from lighting 101 all the way up to 601 courses, and of course guest spotlights like Cory himself there. And I think that's a wrap. I think we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care, everyone.
See you next Tuesday.
See you guys.